in 2004, according to Montauk, the Book of the Dead, the Europeans was only leased the 13 colonies, or the 13 so-called now states as we now call them. It was only leased to them, and the lease was up in 2004. So if you notice, who came to us in 2004 in order to get this started and to tell us and to warn us of the information which that we now have? Bingo. So he obviously already knew this. Okay, and remember, he kept telling us, y'all just don't know what y'all have yet. But I'm just learning myself what he's talking about. I know I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I knew, up to that point, we knew basic Moorish information. Moorish information comes from the Moor Science Temple of America, from the Moor Round Table, you know what I'm saying? From the Great Seal Moors. We knew some of that information because those are some of the schools that various members of the group came through. But as far as knowing Washington information and how it tied into how it ties into a blood lineage, you know what I'm saying, and all those types of things, we didn't know exactly how. But when Prince Bey told us that he got his title Prince in June 7th, 1999, and by the Empress herself, he was given that title, we found out through him that he now can go forth as a prince and to bring forth his own government and be the governor of his own, you know what I'm saying, particular territorial area. So what did he do? He put together 24 chiefs, 12 primary, 12 secondary. All right. The secondary chief didn't mean secondary as in after which they actually were the assistants to the primary, and if needed to be put in position if those who are primary chiefs weren't doing what they supposed to have been doing. So those secondary chiefs would actually take the place of the primary if they weren't doing what they was doing. As we know, there was upheaval. Those in which that were secondary chiefs moved up into the primary chief position. And because of that, we have now been able to go forth and to carry out the true mission, because the only thing he was able to do, Prince Bey told us was going to happen, that it was going to be some turmoil after he left the scene, and to look forward, and that when it happened, we would know who's who. So that's what we found out, was who's who. Okay? Those who wanted to be with Washington, that was fine, because Joe told us that all of us of the United Washington was Washington. So it really doesn't matter, but you seen those who wanted to move from United Washington to be Washington, which was fine, you know what I'm saying? But we ourselves are not just Washington, but we are a self-governing society. In other words, we govern ourselves based on the Queen Mother and the Prince, all right? And therefore with the chiefs, which is 24 of them, along with the various national members, you know what I'm saying, this is how we attempt to do so, you know, to be. So the 12 chiefs, of course, the 12 primary chiefs symbolize the 12 zodiac signs. The 12 secondary chiefs symbolize the 12 planets in the solar system, or the 12 objects in the solar system. You got 9 planets plus the sun and moon, plus one more in which that comes back, which is called Nibiru, or the one in which that actually was destroyed between Jupiter and Mars, which was called Maldek, which symbolized 12 objects in this solar system. If you notice, the scientists are now beefed up that back to 12 objects again. They moved now Pluto out of the mix, and now Chiron is a planet, along with 2 other planetoids, in which that was called planetoids. Now they are also planets. So now we actually have 12 planets now in this solar system. And if you add Pluto back into the mix, you will have 13, and that will coincide perfectly with Ophiuchus, which has moved in between Sagittarius and Scorpio in order to make the 13th constellation. So actually, we don't move from a 12 planet, 12 constellation to a 13 planet, 13 constellation. So we might have to add 2 more chiefs to make it 26, just in case. Symbolic to the 26,000 year period in which take the sun to travel through the 13 zodiac signs, or through or travel around with Sirius A and Sirius B, as well as also through the Pleiades, all right, which all takes about 26,000 years for each one. She went to go, she got her paperwork. She steps in, they gave her a little runaround, talking about they, I don't know what to do with that. Now, everybody know they done seen all this paperwork before, because there's so many moors in New York, too. There's no way possible that you have not seen this paperwork. All right? So they send her all over the place. She's going every which way but loose. So then they finally send her down to the basement. What do they say? Oh, yeah, we get these all the time. Huh? Everybody done told me that they ain't never seen nothing like this. What's going on? Okay. So she go down to the basement. Lady tells her, yeah, we get these all the time. We get these several times, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Oh, but, yours a little bit different, though. You know, sure, I'm going to have to get somebody in order to look at this. He takes it, he looks at it, he reads it. Why you wanna go and do this? This ain't gonna help you stop from paying taxes or nothing else. They ain't gonna help you. Then why should you have a problem filing it then? Becky Sue, go on and file it for her. You know what I'm saying? No, wait. So Queen Mother said, hold up, you just been telling me that it's not going to stop anything. You know what I'm saying? Then what would be the purpose? I mean, you already said, she already told me that there's other Moors who already filed their paperwork. Then what's the problem with me filing mine? Because ours is a little bit different than theirs. The reason being is because we have a blood tie lineage, okay, made throughout the affidavit. That's different than what other Moors have. The Moors, in which that usually come there, say that they're continental Congress Moors, which falls up under the Articles of Confederation of John Hanson. That's fine. But we existed before John Hanson came on the scene. We are the lineage in which that brought forth John Hanson, that brought forth Benjamin Banneker, who was Prince Hall. We the ones who brought forth all these individuals who came from the Ben Ishmael, or what is known as the Washita Turner family. So really, you know what I'm saying? We saying that we are the ones in which that all of these tribes came forth from. Who they call it? Cherokee, the Chickasaw, the Chickasaw, the Tuscarora, which is actually Cherokee. You know what I'm saying? That all these tribes came forth from the Washita, and it's documented. You can read Ancient American Magazine, edition. Oh man, what was the edition? What was the year? I think it was 1997 edition. All right, and it states in there how the Washita are recognized in the UN as the oldest indigenous people on Earth. If they recognize you like that in the UN, you know what I'm saying? What information did the emperors bring to them in order to verify that they actually have on their roster Washita Didagdamanya, the oldest indigenous people on Earth? That takes you right back to basically what Honorable Elijah Muhammad said. You know what I'm saying? That the original man is the Asiatic black man, the maker, the owner, the cream of planet Earth, father, civilization, God of the universe. So that takes you right back to that first particular, you know what I'm saying, stance. You know, so that takes us back to that we are the oldest here. This has been verified through archaeology, through paleontology, through history. It's just been explained and exposed, you know what I'm saying, through all of these so-called scientists that we are the oldest people here. And so she was able to utilize that in a body, in a family body. Because Noble Ali said that one of the things was that we must do as being Moors was to tie ourselves back into a family nation. Well, that would have to be talking about family nation. Then that would have to be talking about the League of Nations, or VIA, which becomes now known as the UN body of family nation. Okay? So the Empress has been the only one of the Moors in order to do that. There's no other Moors groups in which that I've seen documented on the scroll of the Indigenous People Project in which that has come back into that family body. So once again, our paperwork is a whole lot different than the other Moors. So when she showed them all these documentations of the UN with our names on it, Washington D. Doug Money, Washington D. Doug Money, Washington D. Doug Money. You know what I'm saying? And I got right there at the bottom, the websites where you can go and get them at. What you gonna do? So guess what? Her son was in jail at that time. As soon as she posed her paperwork and got it rectified, they released him right then and there. The fact is that y'all utilizing a language in which that y'all so proud of, which is Spanish, but that comes from Spain through the invaders. Now, at one time, Washington, or better yet, the Moors was called Spaniards. So we spoke at one time Spanish also, but we also spoke French, we also spoke Arabic, we also spoke Hebrew, we also spoke Chaldean. We spoke so many languages at one time, you know what I'm saying, right here in the Americas. Matter of fact, it's recorded in the diary of Christopher Columbus that when he landed in the West Indies, that a black or dark brown skinned emperor met him at the shores, who spoke Arabic, Hebrew, and Chaldean. Now hold on. Now this West Indies that they talking about is Cuba. On top of the hill, they seen a mosque. So a black emperor, where they landed at with a mosque, came and met them at the shores when they landed in the West Indies, who spoke Arabic. Now hold up, Arabic is supposed to be an Eastern language. Because the Moors was already here, had civilization set up. They already seen mosques on top of the hills. That means we already built empires here. That's why it took Christopher Columbus from March, after the Moors left in 1492, to go and raid the libraries of Spain and Cordova, you know what I'm saying, and Granada, you know what I'm saying, to raid those libraries and get the information on which that was left there by the Moors to come and follow them by October in order to see where we went. So actually, Columbus didn't come here. He just like he said, he didn't go to India in order to find those spices. And that goes back to the movie Doom. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? In the very beginning, for those that have never seen the movie Doom, go and check it out. In the very beginning, a white lady comes on and says, "Melange, the spice of life." Mm-hmm. Right in the first 5 minutes. And she tells you that it's the substance in which that can control the universe. Woo! I got the fan on that one. Cause that's some heavy stuff that this lady said in the opening 5 minutes. I had to go back and rewind that like about 10 times. Mm-hmm. Man, who wrote this movie to drop it like that?
So blatant.
Yeah, so blatant, right? But they released her son. Soon as she got her paperwork filed, she went upstairs with her documents and told the magistrate to release him right now. They went in, got him, and released him right then. The first time I stood there, you know what I'm saying, my Masonic stance, and I, you know what I'm saying, in front of the judge, and she was like, we ain't got enough paperwork. Okay, we need to prepare, we need more paperwork. So they told me to come back again because number one, the cop wasn't there. And I knew he wasn't gonna be there because they already got wind after the first time. He better probably not come. I put a lien on him. So the second time I didn't even stand in front of the judge. I talked specific to the DA over the little bar, which is a little gate that you go through in order to go to what they call the lion's den to stand in front of the judge. I didn't even have to do that. The DA told me over the bar, case dismissed. No fees, no fines, don't worry about it, no court costs, going home. Mm. Okay, and they supposed to get me for driving while license revoked.
See, I just so I need my paperwork.
Yeah, number one, I wasn't driving, I was traveling. Right. Mm-hmm. Number two, they weren't revoked, I gave them back. As a matter of fact, when I got stopped over here on Fort Bragg, the MPs came back to me and said, "You turned in your license?" So I knew that's the way that they had it in the system. And he was like, man, we gonna have to wait, till the sheriff comes. So when the sheriff come, you know what I'm saying? He like, well, where you heading to? I'm like, right here on the Shaw Road, to my place of business. It don't look like you have any warrant, anything. You can go on and continue safely, So okay, well, let's go. But in the computers, it said specifically, I gave them back, obviously, because the MP came back and was shaking, was scratching his head, you know what I'm saying, and like, you gave your license back. But he knew there was something to it, but he didn't know what it was, and it was like he wanted to ask, But he couldn't just let himself ask, you know what I'm saying? Because he was like, you know what I'm saying? You know, that would have been out of, you know, out of policy, you know what I'm saying, for him to ask. You know, he was in uniform and everything, so, you know, he had to uphold that, you know, the MP image, you know what I'm saying? But he wanted to ask so badly. I can just read it in his face. Like, you can just tell he wanted to do, you know, formulate his mouth to say why.
Or how?
Right, or how. Right, exactly. You know what I'm saying? But once again, these are the things in which that you go through. We got stopped on 95. Coming down, me and my wife, Caesar coming back from New York, coming down 95. 2 state patrolmen stops us. License and registration, please. I ain't got no license. Baby, where my paperwork? Okay, baby, wake up. Get my paperwork. I got my paperwork. I handle my my ID and paperwork. Boom. I don't say a word. He looks at it, go through it, see them seals, hand it right back, continue traveling safely, and have a good evening. But remember now, think about it. Go back in history. Go back in your mind on what you was taught in history class. You had free blacks, as they was called, and you had Negro slaves.
Exactly.
What separated them? Free blacks from Negro slaves. Number one, the free blacks could read and write. Number two, they had paperwork.
Exactly.
Where did the paperwork come from? Who wrote up the paperwork?
Nobody talked about it.
Bingo.
Right.
They never revealed to you what paperwork was. What was the paperwork about? What was it on? Because they realized by studying the Constitution that all men was created equal. So guess what? You had to have that encoded inside of your paperwork. So therefore, you took yourself from out of being a Negro slave to being a what? A free black or a free Moor. Because right now they got all of us in slavery. Black, white, red, yellow, and brown.
That's right.
All of us is now in slavery due to the 14th Amendment.
Right.
So that means once you understand that, you would use that in part of your paperwork. I'm not a 14th Amendment citizen. I am a naturalized person. I do not operate under these unlawful titles in which that you have, which is called these colorable laws, in which that you have my name spelled in all caps. According to the Constitution of the United States, only Congress shall be able to collect taxes. If they're not doing it, then I'm not paying you for it, because you're not Congress. Otherwise, I would state that I'm committing treason to the country in which I live in. On a ship, it's called mutiny.
Exactly.
Okay? So even if you use land law or quote-unquote admiralty maritime law, you still committing mutiny or either treason. Either way that you want to see it. So if you go into a court and you get that daggone gold fringe around that flag, which is a maritime military admiralty law court, oh shoot, they can put you up under the laws of the seas and get you for that. like me and my wife, we had to go to this DMV thing for her license with Mr. Matthews, a lawyer, and basically they operated off of common sense. Well, hold on, well, ma'am, we had to write up a little article conveying what happened and the reason why we did what we did. As far as like having to change lanes and get in front of this car, we had to document that. So they read it. It's common sense. But it seemed like you didn't have no other choice, man, but to do what you need to do. The lawyer told them that, and guess what? Psst, all right, man, you sound like you good to go. So they done turned the DMV into common sense law or common law place now. When you're supposed to be doing common law, right? And to start with, in the courthouse, you have the right to travel. Pursuit of happiness, pursuit of life, happiness. Well, pursuit of life, liberty, and happiness. You got that right according to the Constitution in order to do what you need to do. For you to go and pick up your grandma, that's a part of your life. Because your grandma, you know what I'm saying? You come from your grandma. You know what I'm saying? Indirectly. But you come from, that's your blood lineage. So if you need to go do something for your grandma, you know what I'm saying, as far as take her down the street, what business is that of the law, in order to this so-called law, I should say colorable law, for them to they're gonna stop you and say, well, with your license and your insurance and your registration at, man. Hold on, man, I'm only going down the street to take grandma down the road here. You know, grandma needs some groceries. You are impeding, you know what I'm saying, my travel, you know what I'm saying, and right now I'm not happy. And according to the Constitution, I'm supposed to be happy. Okay? I'm supposed to be happy right now. I'm not happy with this. Okay? So that means they done violated your constitutional rights. And you got a right in order to seek remedy if you choose to. So they will label that, but once again, we're not in military uniform. We don't have on no combat boots. We're not saying that we advocating war. We simply saying that we are declaring who we are, which are indigenous to this land, which the UN declarations state that we have the right to do. So we're not going outside of any bounds here, according even to the United States Constitution, to the Declaration of Independence, nor to the Articles of Confederation, or the so-called international law, which is the human rights laws or indigenous laws. We are inbound, once again, while they are out of bound. So once again, who is committing treason and who is upholding, you know what I'm saying, this Constitution the best? This is what we need to go over in these schools, okay? Because it's hard to believe that you get out of college or you get out of high school and don't know the Constitution and don't know the Declaration. Man, look, when we read the Declaration of Independence, how much of that did y'all know that relates to the situation that we're going through right now? The exact same situation that's in the Declaration of Independence that made them break away from the daggone England is right there. It's documented. You know what I'm saying? But yet we crazy. But you wasn't crazy when you did it 250 years ago. This got nothing to do with white people. This got to do with getting respect in a world in which that black folks or Moors all around the globe have been relegated down to a third-class citizenship. Even in their own country, they don't control the ports, control the industries, the factories in Africa. They don't. The Dutch runs that. The French run that. The Portuguese run that. The Spaniards run that. The Britons run that. In all the cities of in Africa. And these got cities now. Cities just as large as Atlanta, just as large as Detroit, just as large as Philadelphia, just as large as New York, just as large as Los Angeles. It's right there in Africa. How to achieve sovereign status. Reason why, now if you was given the ability to be sovereign people, then you should be able to know how to, file your paperwork in order to be a sovereign, have sovereign status, shouldn't you? Well, here go the paperwork that mentions what we're doing. It makes mention on what should be done in order to have that status of sovereignty. It says many organizations provide services for individuals that can apply to change their status from tax slave, because that's what we are. Be a slave still, but be tax slave. Was exactly, or feudal subjects of the government to sovereign individuals. Some organizations provide you with hundreds of papers or pages of documentations. We only gave you about 30. And you send dozens of government agencies, which you can once you depending on where you want the next place to hit. Okay, we ain't talking about with no bombs. We talking about with paperwork. They more or less do everything for you. All right. Other organizations provide courses in which they teach you how to do it yourself. We do that too. That's why we're here tonight. We attempt to teach you how to do it, as well as also go over enough law that you are familiarized with it, that you won't have no problem maneuvering through their court system. If you have to go. Me, I'm sending my paperwork before I go. So as soon as I get there,
you know how to treat
paper already know what to do to talking. I ain't got to open my mouth. So you can see, you know what I'm saying, when you know the law, it ain't no need of even saying nothing, because it's colorable law. It's BS. It's not real. And matter of fact, it's a known fact that a 33rd degree Mason receive a black robe and a gavel, and he can go into the courtroom and have jurisdiction over the whole court proceedings. Right. A 33rd degree Mason label is what? His title. What is his title? Sovereign Grand Inspector General. I'm a real Moor. I know who I am now. I'm a Moor. And we now is taking back our system in which that we set up for you 250 years ago. We make sure that we carry a oath, the judge's oath. In the judge's oath, it makes mention that his oath is to the Constitution. So when you step in the court, hold on, who delegates your power? Did not you give your oath to the Constitution? Well, guess what? We're going to have Constitution up in here today. We're going to have Constitution in here today. How about that? And you go through it just like we're doing right here. And break down these come in at? You know, something's wrong. When a cop comes back after he signed this ticket and he hands this to you and you take it from him, that is a suit. He's suing you. And they have converted a right which you have into a crime. Yet, according to the Constitution, not the Constitution, excuse me, according to the interpretation of the Constitution by the American Supreme Court case, or the United States Supreme Court, it states that they done converted the right into a crime. Let's read. The laws which are pugnant or repugnant to the Constitution are null and void. Marbury versus Madison, 5 United States 137. Statutes that violate the plain and obvious principles of common right and common reason are null and void. Bennett versus Bogue, 1 Baldwin 60. Where rights secured by the Constitution are involved, there can no rule making or legislation which would obligate them. Hold on, I'm gonna read that again. Where rights are secured by the Constitution are involved, there can be no rule making or legislation which can obligate them.
So if the rules already been
Miranda versus Arizona. That's the reason why they don't read your Miranda rights anymore.
That's right.
When you get arrested, they no longer read your Miranda rights.